I was 9 years old the day I buried the doll. She had been given to me as a birthday gift by my aunt, a porcelain thing with glassy blue eyes and curls that never seemed to tingle, no matter how roughly I handled her. At first, I loved her. I carried her everywhere, spoke to her like she was my shadow. But over time, something about her began to unsettle me. Her eyes never looked away, no matter where I stood. Sometimes I would leave her propped against the wall, only to find her lying neatly on my bed, arms folded as if waiting. It was small things at first. A faint rustle in my room when no one else was there. A whisper in the dark that sounded like my name, so soft I thought it was the wind. But children know when something isn't right. I stopped sleeping with her nearby, placing her on the highest shelf. Still, I felt her watching. Still, I heard her faint laugh when the lights went out. One summer evening, I couldn't take it anymore. I dug a hole in the backyard with my bare hands, dirt caking beneath my nails. I told myself it was just a toy, just porcelain and paint. Yet when I pressed her into the earth, I swear I felt warmth in her tiny body, as if she had a heartbeat. Her glassy eyes caught the moonlight one last time before the soil covered her face. I patted the ground flat and whispered, "Stay there." I went to bed lighter that night, convinced I had silenced the unease forever. I had no way of knowing that burying her was only the beginning. For weeks after I buried the doll, my room felt different, quieter, lighter. I finally slept through the night without jolting awake, heart hammering, certain someone was watching me. I told myself I had outgrown my fear, that it had been nothing more than a child's overactive imagination. But the silence didn't last. It began one humid night in late August. I woke to the faint sound of scratching like fingernails dragging across wood. At first, I thought it was an animal outside my window, but when I held my breath, I realized it was coming from beneath my floorboards. Slow, deliberate, scratch, pause. Scratch. I pulled the blanket over my head and tried to convince myself I was dreaming. Yet the sound grew bolder each night, sometimes shifting to the walls, sometimes to the closet. I started sleeping with the lamp on, its yellow glow pulling weakly across my bed. But even the light didn't help. One night, as I lay there trembling, I heard a faint giggle, soft and sharp, like glass chimes stirred by the wind. I stopped going near the backyard where I buried her. Something about the patch of earth unsettled me. Grass refused to grow there. It stayed bare, damp, and dark, even on sunny days. My mother asked me what was wrong, but I couldn't bring myself to tell her. What would I say? That I buried a doll because I was afraid she was alive, and now she was clawing her way back to me. The scratching grew closer with each night, and deep down, I knew it wasn't going to stop. It was a storm that finally brought her back. The kind of night when the sky split open with lightning, and the rain came down so hard it drowned out your own thoughts. I was sitting upright in bed, every crash of thunder rattling the windows when I saw her. At first, I thought it was a trick of the storm, a shape barely outlined by the flash of white light outside. But then it came again brighter this time, and I froze. Pressed against the glass, her porcelain face gleamed wet with rain, her blue eyes unblinking. Her tiny hands were flat against the pane, as though she were peering in, patient, waiting for me to open the window. I screamed so loud my throat tore raw. My mother burst into the room, flicking on the light, demanding to know what was wrong. I pointed at the window, sobbing, but when she looked, there was nothing there. No doll, no wet streaks from little hands. Just the trembling reflection of myself. She told me it was the storm playing tricks, tucked me back in, and shut the door. But when the room fell silent again, I swore I could hear water dripping soft, steady drops that weren't coming from the ceiling. They were coming from beneath my bed. I gathered the courage to lean over the edge, my heart pounding in my ears. And there she was, lying face up on the floor, soaked with mud and rain. Her porcelain lips curled into the faintest smile. That was the moment I realized she didn't stay buried. She never wanted to. After that night, nothing felt real anymore. I tried to tell myself I had imagined her under the bed, that fear had twisted the storm into something it wasn't, but the truth wouldn't let me rest. Every time I glanced at the mirror, I saw her face where mine should have been porcelain skin, painted lips, and those wide, glassy eyes that didn't blink. I would rub my eyes until they burned, but when I looked again, her reflection was still there, smiling faintly as if she knew something I didn't. My mother noticed my change. She said I was pale, sickly, barely eating. She thought it was nightmares, and maybe she was right, but nightmares aren't supposed to bleed into daylight. I'd wake up to find my toys rearranged, my closet door ajar, the faint smell of wet soil lingering in the air. Once, I found muddy footprints, small, doll-sized prints, leading from the window to the foot of my bed. I stopped sleeping altogether. The moment I closed my eyes, I felt her near me. Breathing wasn't the right word. She didn't breathe, but there was a presence. Heavy and cold, pressing against my chest. Sometimes I swore I felt her tiny hands brush my hair aside, as if she were studying my face, memorizing it. Then came the night when my reflection didn't move with me. I raised my hand to my cheek, trembling, but the girl in the glass just stared, motionless. And when she finally tilted her head, it wasn't to mimic me, it was to grin. That was when I understood. She wasn't haunting me, she was replacing me. By the final week, I wasn't sure if I was still myself. The reflection in the mirror lingered long after I looked away. My voice sounded thinner, higher, almost like a child's whisper instead of my own. My mother grew frightened. She said I talked in my sleep, carrying on hushed conversations with someone she couldn't hear. I didn't have the heart to tell her it wasn't sleep. It was her, the doll, sitting cross-legged at the foot of my bed, speaking to me in a voice like splintering porcelain. I tried to fight it. I went to the backyard in the middle of the night with a shovel, determined to dig the hole deeper, to put her farther down where she couldn't crawl back out. But when I reached the patch of earth, my stomach turned to ice. The soil was already loose, as though someone had dug there recently. When I pushed the shovel in, the ground collapsed inward, revealing not emptiness, but a small, pale figure. It wasn't the doll. It was me. My own body lying still, dirt clinging to my hair and skin. My eyes were shut, my lips parted as if I had been asleep for years. I dropped the shovel, trembling so violently I could barely stand. Behind me, I heard the faint crunch of porcelain feet stepping across the grass. Her voice slipped into my ear, sweet and final. You can't bury what's already yours. When I turned, she wasn't holding the doll anymore. She was holding my face. And in that moment, I understood the truth. The thing I had buried had never been a doll at all.